Workplace Pensions Direct on Stray FM's Business Hub.
So, Steve Conley, Workplace Pensions Direct, welcome. We've never spoken before.
We haven't.
So, pleasure to meet you. Heard a lot about you. We can talk about auto-enrolment.
Yeah.
Going to come on to the cost of it. But first, a quick reset. What is it and why is it kind of in the spotlight?
Okay, so every business in the United Kingdom has to, by law, put in place a workplace pension for their staff. This has been happening over the last few years. Small businesses, it's their turn at the moment. And by the end of this year, 700,000 small businesses will have to have a workplace pension scheme in place for their staff.
And previously you've touched on how that might impact the individual, the employee. But now you want to talk about the cost for an employer, because it doesn't need to cost what some people imagine it will do.
Yeah, so we're talking about small and micro businesses now. So this is businesses which might have just one employee, or might have 5, or might have up to 30 employees. It's their turn at the moment. I think everybody realises now that they have to do something, every business owner, and they might be shopping around and be put off by the cost of getting expert guidance. And looking, really, how can I do this for as little as possible? So really, that's what I wanted to talk about today, Chris. Okay,
and well, how can people do this for as little as possible, Steve?
Okay, well, I'll tell you the story about what really does happen, is what's happening across the United Kingdom, really, is the first port of call, really, is the trusted advisor for the business. So they might be their payroll professional, their accountant, or their financial advisor. So how can I do this for as little as possible? And they say, well, that's fine. We could put you into a free pension scheme. The first warning really is there is no such thing as free. These pension schemes are commercial operations, and the cost will find its way somewhere.
Yeah.
And really, without getting an expert, they probably get caught up in paying some additional costs, which are going to get larger and larger as the years go on. So then the payroll person might say, well, okay, you can talk to an expert, but experts are expensive. And they say, well, we're quite expert, There's no such thing as quite expert, really. There's going to be... a payroll person might know about payroll systems, but do they know about pension schemes? That's the question.
Which is where you come in.
Yes, it is. So I'll tell you sort of things that happen. If you talk to the payroll company and they say, yeah, we can set you up with a pension scheme, and there's no charge for that if you use this particular pension scheme. First of all, there's broken a rule there straight away. The rule they've broken is you actually have to compare different pension schemes and choose one that's appropriate for your workers. Because if you go with the first scheme that you come across and it's free, it actually might have disadvantaged your workers. Your workers could miss out on tax relief. It might be free for the employer, but very, very expensive for the employee. If that's left unchecked, the employee could have a small pension pot in a few years' time, and then they might come back to the employer and say, how did you go about choosing a pension scheme and comparing like you were required to by the regulations? So we didn't, we just went with a free one.
So legally an employer has to shop around for the correct scheme?
That's the rule. We want to make sure that people do shop around, but in order to shop around you need to know what you're doing, how to look for these hidden costs. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is when you design a scheme, there's some decisions, you get choices. It might seem free. What is meant by free is there's no employer pension charge. So that's seen as a free scheme. But there are many other charges, and there's design of the scheme as well. So you might have it set up on the wrong tax basis. You don't use some of the design options. So you can have a choice between using a select portion of earnings or full earnings, and depending on what choice you make, you could have a very expensive pension scheme. So we estimate that we can save an employer up to £1,000 a year in the long run per employee.
And how many people are aware of this, do you think? Do you think people are taking it seriously enough? Do you think how many employers know enough?
No, it's widespread. That it's not just the employers don't know about all the available cost savings. It's also their advisors, so the payroll professionals don't realise. So we know the survey says that 58% of accountants actually don't realise the requirement to compare schemes and is not aware of the rules. I can see why people might be put off, because experts are expensive. If it could take an expert 2 weeks to work through a case and do everything for a client, and they're going to charge expert fees. But that isn't the only option. what I'm saying and what my business does is we've taken all that expertise and computerised the programme. So instead of taking 2 weeks, it takes us 90 minutes to do of telephone conversations. So if you don't want to see a person face to face, if you're happy dealing with telephone conversations instead, 90 minutes of telephone conversations, then it brings the costs right down. So there are services available out there where it's a daily rate of just £1 or less. So for a micro business, we charge £19 a month, 50-60p a day.
For expert advice?
For expert advice, it's going to save you thousands of pounds per year. So that's the message I wanted to get across today. Don't be put off getting expert help. It is available at affordable prices. It is there, and free doesn't mean free when the payroll person says it's a free scheme. And expert, you have to be expert not just on the payroll but on the pension scheme as well, and that's where the real cost savings are, being an expert on the pension scheme. Does that make sense, Chris?
It makes perfect sense. And for those that want to come to you as an expert, how can they get in touch? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so just find us on our website. It's really straightforward. It's workplacepensionsdirect.co.uk.
Workplace Pensions Direct on Stray FM's Business Hub.